At least we are laughing.
All right. Let's make those, record those dad jokes as well. But hi everyone, I'm the moderator, Patrick, and I have with me Tino, who's our senior product manager, and who will talk to us about how to become rich and famous with Qt Marketplace in a few moments. But I'm just going to give you some information before the fun begins. You'll notice it's a Q&A button in your interface, so if you have any questions, please submit them there and Tino will answer them in the end. Any questions we might not have time for, we can record them and we send them over to Tino and he can answer them in his own time. The webinar itself is also being recorded and will be made available on demand. So if it's such a good time and you want to watch it again, share it with your friends, will be available there along with the slides. And one last thing, when you leave this webinar, a window will open in your browser that has two links in it, and one takes you back to the webinar main page where you can have a look and select the next webinar you want to attend. And the other one contains a survey. Please let us know if your thoughts, if you enjoyed it, if you hated it, what you liked, what you didn't like, and please let us know so we can improve. Yeah. Oh, for any other questions, when you go to the, when you have a more complex problem, you can also check our event page and talk to our professional services, which are there to talk about your projects and similar. So without any further ado, I hand the mic over to Tino.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. So welcome to this session from my behalf as well. I'm really senior product manager and I'm responsible for the developer experience area. And that means in practice, many of the developer tools, it means the whole path from the installation to use of a Qt Creator and other tools what we may have. And that's why in this presentation, I'm going to show that what we are planning, this is work in progress stuff, what we are planning in Qt 6 to improve the flow of getting components from our marketplace. And let's see what that means in practice in this presentation. You can use the Q&A box, but you can also, if you want, you can send me directly using the email questions tino.pyssysalo@qt.io, and I will reply if I can to those questions as well. So let's look at a little bit at what is the Qt Marketplace. Let's look at what are the current ways of distributing components in the marketplace, what are the challenges currently, and what is building the sources, what it actually means, and where we are. What is the progress in that area? So we have been running the Qt Marketplace since December last year. There have been this year something like 30,000 different visitors, so it's quite popular. The idea of the marketplace was not really that it's a great revenue generator for us, but we wanted to activate the Qt community so that anyone could in one place provide their great contributions either for free, just to get merit, or for paid contributions to get even some money, revenue, so that anybody could then easily also use those publications via the marketplace. We have individual developers who have provided contributions. We have partners who have provided contributions, and the contributions really range from additional Qt modules like additional controls to Qt Creator plugins, for example, to analyze the database content in Qt Creator, to write Ruby programs in Qt Creator, and of course plenty of different tools from very variety technologies ranging from the desktop to embedded, for example, the testing tools, the tools to enhance the mobile applications, the tools to improve the build speeds, and so on. And many of these tools, they are Qt related. Many of these tools are actually not related to Qt itself, but they make it easier to create products which are based in Qt. But as such, they can be used in more general way than just using Qt. This is the marketplace. And if you think about what is the current situation, how vendors can distribute their content and extensions using the marketplace, we use the word extension, meaning anything, in any kind of publication, any kind of a product, because the idea is that we extend Qt. That's why it's called extension. So right now we have source distributions and binary distributions. And you see on the right, there is a screenshot from the marketplace with the basic source distribution. So after somebody has decided to download this contribution, there will be instructions that you can download the content by cloning the GitHub repository. And then you can use it by doing changes in your project files into your CMake list text files if a CMake is used. So this is, of course, not very convenient to the user. The user has to do a lot of manual work to actually build the component. There are no automatic updates. The user has to check that if there is a new update available, and so on, so on. Not very nice experience. We do have also binary distributions already. Many vendors, they don't want to kill the source code of their tools. They want to have a binary distribution. And then in binary distribution, we use the Qt online installer still, so that the installation will be put easily into the required location. And of course, there are issues that if you think about Qt component, something which should be in the Qt tree, where to deploy? Should we overwrite some existing component, replace that? There is a risk that that may happen, or should we deploy somewhere else? I will come back to this a little bit later. Then what we have been planning in this story is that we combine the package manager and Qt online installer. The package manager will benefit of building the components automatically because we don't have the source build support in the online installer. And then the package manager is very useful to manage also the different dependencies between the components. We plan to replace the whole installer with the package manager, but it would have been rather straightforward for the Qt open source. But then to manage all the different license management things, to check the licenses, to provide different content for open source users and license and commercial users, that became quite a nightmare with the package manager. We were evaluating VC package and Conan, and we decided that we will continue using the online installer version 4 in Qt 6 still to handle the license issues. But there is no source build support available, and that's why we plan to use the package manager to provide the source builds. Why source building? First of all, that we can check the sources. The carried process and the full process is too heavy. We don't expect that people contribute the sources as such. But we are planning to use that we have a lightweight sanity check that the contributions don't cause any harm. We are doing that totally manually right now, but we are going to add an automatic checks there. Dependencies, now if the user downloads a component from the marketplace, in the worst case, there are components which are dependent on 4 other, not Qt, but other components which needs to be installed as well. And currently it's totally a manual process to handle these dependencies from the marketplace. We want to have eventually out-of-the-box experience in Qt Creator. In Qt Creator, we already have the possibility to browse the marketplace components, but there is no way to install the components in the Qt Creator in any way yet. And yes, the idea is that we are also having a proper headless installation in Qt Installer 4.0, so that we could use the headless installation API to actually build the dependencies and build the components from the marketplace. This is in the roadmap. There is quite a lot of work required, and this won't be available at the beginning of Qt 6.0. That it will go further into the future. I mentioned the automatic updates. We are planning to use very lightweight sanity check, which is based on our continuous integration. And then using the continuous integration, we can provide that the package which is available, the sources are always the latest one for the end users. If we think ourselves, it will save our work as well. Nowadays we have to do, for each binary installation, we have to have the installer repository. And now if we have most of the content in sources in Qt 6, then we don't need those installer repositories anymore. This is the generic thing what we plan to do. And then let's jump into the little bit more technical description. So this is very high level, and actually this shows many of the details what we have. So we have first the marketplace. The user will use the marketplace to browse the components and then decide that I will purchase this. Yes, there may be free components as well, so possibly there is no purchase process at all. There is just a button that I want to have this component. What will happen is that from the marketplace, there will be a notification to the Qt Online Installer backend. This component will be enabled, which means that it will be visible in the online installer. And after that, the user needs to install Conan. And there will be a couple of files related to the Conan, like the Conan profile, the basic configuration file settings, YAML file, which are copied to the Conan folder. These will be needed, but of course, there must be also the component tarball, and then we need to have the recipe, Conan recipe file, Conan file.python, which will be used by the Conan to build not only the component, but also the dependencies as well. So we have set everything so that the Conan will be really used to build the components into the Conan cache. We were concerned that is this sufficient? Because there may be other Conan components in the cache. There may be cases that the cache will be deleted completely. And it's very nasty, especially if you have purchased something in the marketplace and you realize that, hey, something what I purchased is gone. And of course, we don't want this to happen. So there's option also to use a local Conan server as a remote server. So the marketplace components can be stored into this local server. So they will be there even though the cache will be deleted. And let's look at that, how this looks like in practice. So let's start from the marketplace. This is the marketplace view of one of the components. This is Qt Charts. Don't look at that, or don't misunderstand this, that hey, there is a price for Qt Charts. Qt Charts will be available as a GPL component. It will be available in the commercial licenses, but we have a price tag, or will have a price tag, if an open source user wants to have a commercial version of the Qt Charts, allowing to use of the Qt Charts in the open source based commercial products. And this is when you can then buy this. The user, in this case, buys the extension. There are different kind of subscriptions which will be available. There is just 1 year subscription here. This is not extremely relevant. What will happen in that case is that when the user goes into the online installer, In the installer, there will be a folder, okay, quite likely for the charts. There will not be a separate folder that it will be under Qt also in the future, but this is just a test. So there will be the components available or purchased from the marketplace. They will be available in the installer. The user installs those in the normal way. This is just a demo, so there are just charts and data visualization just for demonstration purposes. This has nothing to do with the real world as such. And then the user will need, of course, some basic Qt installation selected from here, and then Conan will be required as well, because otherwise building the dependencies and building the sources will be quite impossible. So these things have to be installed, and what will happen in that case is that this is the normal Qt installation, but in the tools folder there will be a Conan folder as well, and then in .conan there will be the basic files which is needed for this build, and they will be provided here. So there is a basic configuration file for the Conan, which is the settings file, and in the settings file right here, we haven't yet made any changes. This is the settings YAML file, which is in Conan upstream, directly copied from there. But of course, we should then define that what are the Qt platforms into which these particular components can be built. So we need to, of course, we hope that we shouldn't need to do much changes to this, or we can then upstream the changes what we need to have. But yes, this hasn't been changed in any way yet. So you can build most of your your marketplace components just using that basic file. And another important file what is needed will be the profiles or profile file. This is also a rather simple file if we look at what it contains. So of course this can be changed, this can be generated to have the actual settings of the plugins. But if you think about the basic plugins, we just need to have the basic compilation settings what we use, environment variables, where the one environment variable worth mentioning will be the path to the QMake. So in this case, we use QMake to build dependencies, but of course in Qt 6, quite likely it will be CMake, but in this demo, we don't use the CMake yet. And of course, we will need the recipes. So recipes needs to be provided by the marketplace publishers. So the data will be the cache where we have all the necessary files, and now charts and data visualization, these have been installed by the online installer when I selected those in the installer tool. And if you look at that, what it contains, okay, we have to have the path which is correct into the actual component name, final folder, and here you see that there is a little bit extra stuff already because I have built this component. There is also the build folder, which is not coming from the installer, but from the installer there will be the export. And then this is what is exported, the recipe file, Conan file.py, or the Python Conan file. And then of course, the sources from which the component will be built, and sources what we can distribute also in addition to the binaries. If you look at the Conan file or the recipe file, a little bit that what it looks like. There are the basic name of the component, what is the version of the component. It doesn't have to match the Qt version. Of course, what kind of a license is, what is the author, what is the URL where it is available. And basically, this is the information which is already available in the marketplace today. Anybody who publishes in the marketplace has to provide a JSON file and the JSON file contains the same information. And we have to study a little bit that how we could generate this automatically, that everything doesn't have to be provided twice, or a lot of data doesn't have to be provided twice by the publisher. And the important thing then is that if we have any dependencies, we should define here requires some other models which will be built, and then we have different macros to define that how we build. We will go to the sources, we will use the QMake to do the build. There are some magic numbers. So how do we know that user will have 8 cores or CPUs to build the system? So these are something what we have to then generate based on the actual platform what the user has. But in this demo, they are still magic numbers. All this will be automatically generated, automatically installed. And then of course the user wants to build these dependencies, wants to use these dependencies in some way, and the easy way will be Qt Creator. What I have in the Qt Creator is the hello world. You see there's actually I don't even use the main window here, but there is very simple project where I use the charts. So chart is now one of the components what I downloaded from the installer, originally coming from the marketplace. So this is normal charts code. There is nothing special here. So this is very simple project as such. And then I have the CMake lists file. So this is generated by Qt Creator, but you have to make now the build system known about the Conan. So there are a couple of environment variables. You have to add these unfortunately manually at this point, but it would be easy to provide some tool item or whatever we have to think about that which will generate these basic environment variables. We have to tell that where the Conan can be found. We have to tell that where we have the Conan user folder, so where all the files will be built, where the cache file is found. And then we have to define that what is the profile what we use, and this is directly pointing to the Linux profile file what I showed to you. This is rather straightforward, but the thing what we need that also everything, the dependencies will be built as well, is this kind of a macro what we need to define. So this program will require something which is now in the Conan cache. So we have to refer to the Conan cache using the right versions, using of course the right names, what will be the provider of this. And then to build, you see that I have commented out this line, but this will be then the line where we tell that we also want to build this. If it's not in the cache already, if it's not built there, I want to build it as well. Build missing is essential. Now it doesn't do anything because charts doesn't have dependencies to other than the components which are provided in the essentials. But if there were that charts is dependent on some other module, whatever that is, it would be important to have this build missing here as well. And you define in the Conan recipe that what is the file what is needed. Yeah, and then same environment variable, what you define here, and the default profile, what you define there. Then you build this whole thing. It will of course build the dependencies first. I won't do that because in my virtual machine it will take something like 10 minutes. That's totally unnecessary. And after the build has been, all the dependencies have been built, then you can run the application and there is nothing else but a simple chart to be shown. So some manual settings still, but the idea is that this is as automatic in the future as possible, that the users really just click on in Qt Creator marketplace list, click on items and define in which environment they will be built. So that's why it's built in this project and not earlier, because when this project is created, we know that we want to have the build for the Linux target or whatever is the target using this and that compiler. If we build it beforehand, we have no idea that whether this is cross-compiled, this Qt charts is cross-compiled to some target, or however we are going to handle those builds. That's why we created the name lazy building. We don't build when we download something from the using the online installer, but we will build it later when it's actually needed in some project. So this is the how we plan to have the source build in the components in the Qt marketplace. This is something which is very frequently asked from me, that, hey, Tino, how do you handle the source building? And then I say that it's under development. We don't have any support for that yet, but building now. And really the idea is that this will be totally seamless from the Qt creator point of view, from the IDE point of view in the future. We still need the online installer to fetch different components like Qt Essentials to handle the managers, because the idea is that we have a little bit different content for the open source users, for the licensed users, but this is the marketplace story, not related to the source building so much. And we were really thinking about VC package and Conan as the two best candidates to manage the building and to handle the component dependencies. And in the end, we chose Conan because there was no the binary deployment possibility in the VC package, or at least not an easy way to do that. And it was built in Conan, so we don't do it yet, but we could use Conan then for the binary distributions as well. There are a couple of issues, but we really don't know yet that what are the best ways to handle that, where to deploy the components. Of course, the user can decide where to deploy the components, but it's not very convenient if the user has every time manually decide that it will go here or it will go there. Should it be in the Qt installation tree? Should it install under the what I have, for example, 5.12.6 there? Actually, I deployed my charts and data visualization under the Qt installation tree, because this is the only thing what is supported. But if I have already charts there, should I replace the existing charts? If I create another charts module with some different name, then nothing in the documentation would work anymore. And there are plenty of other cases why not to do that. If we install outside the Qt installation tree, this is not supported by Qt currently. You cannot have only one prefix where you find the Qt content, and if something is, for example, the plugin implementation is somewhere else, then it's not found. The user has to then manually add the plugin paths into the application, and this is again inconvenient, what we want to avoid. So thank you, and let's look at that, what kind of questions we have in the Q&A box. So the first question is that, are there any limitations to Qt Creator plugins for Marketplace? Could it, for example, take large binaries with it? We haven't defined the exact rules that what kind of limitations in terms of the binary size, for example, there will be. We just reserve the right to accept or deny any Qt Creator plugin sizes in the marketplace. So the best way to handle this is that you send an email to the marketplace at qt.io and ask the question there and say that what kind of binary sizes you are planning to have. So then I won't give here the exact answer, because we don't have exact rules defined for that. Will Marketplace lead to clear SDK installation with extensions like Android, iOS, WebAssembly support in order to install needed components from Marketplace? This is the plan that we will have, so that everything, the Marketplace already knows the dependencies and it can communicate the dependencies to the installer, and the dependencies are of course in the code and recipes, so that everything what you need will be then properly installed in one go. We have to do the also the dependency support in the Marketplace itself, because if we have commercial components, that one component X which is $5 is dependent on another component which is $1,000. It's not very convenient if you download the $5 item and realize that later that you will need 1,000 item as well. We don't have such dependencies currently, but before we have those, we will handle the dependencies in the Marketplace as well. Okay, does component include custom QML plugins? These, for example, the charts contain custom QML plugins as well, and this is the case that from the deployment point of view, what you need to handle, that the plugins will be installed currently into the Qt installation tree. Otherwise, the QML plugins won't work. But it's possible, and in this case, in case of the charts, for example, there is custom QML plugins which are provided. Event portal, 20 minutes. Please check back on the event portal 20 minutes after the webinar. We have a webinar. Okay, this was something answer. There is currently no Marketplace plan for custom QML plugins. Yes, you can provide custom QML plugins as well. There is no restrictions except that the deployment has to go to the right place, or we have to have another way which we don't have yet to extend the paths where we actually search for the different plugins. So I don't see that this is any kind of limitation. It's not limited that you couldn't have custom QML plugins. Okay, that said, as I said, depends that who will be the publisher. If you are just individual person, we don't accept the binary plugins. We accept binary plugins from the trusted vendors only. But if it's okay that we do the source building, yes. You have the sources and we do the source building. Yes, it's definitely supported as well. Good. Any other questions?